welcome to another week of Bar Brunch. I am your host, Genny, and I am exhausted. It has been a very, very long week. It's been a very, very long year. It has been a whole time. Today we are going to be talking to Tim Mooney of Breakneck Hamlet. Breakneck Hamlet is the thing that's happening tonight. That being said, he does a ton of other Shakespeare shows, one-man shows, all of this kind of stuff. We're going to be specifically talking a little more in depth about Breakneck Hamlet because that is happening tonight. But before we get into that, I'm going to be making a 12th Night cocktail. Fun fact, I've had such an exhausting week that I forgot why I called it that. But it's going to be a fun cocktail and it's going to get me real drunk. It's going to be a real fun interview time. Woo, woo. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is add some creamer. I love adding creamer to stuff because it just is ridiculous. If any of you have seen me make coffee, ooh, I add a lot of creamer. All right. Because it's sugar milk. It's sugar milk. All right. So it's just that. This is going to be a really easy cocktail today because, again, I am so exhausted. And I also have a show that I'm screaming after this. Plus, I have my holiday cooking show at 6 p.m. after this. Hey, I should have opened this in advance. Yay, Tim Mooney! Yes. Tim is so fun. So we're going to talk to, as I try and struggle to open this, Tim is a great, awesome performer. I got to see some snippets of his show pre-pandemic. He has now adapted it to the, yeah. Hi, Chris. Can you come help me open this? I need my tech to help me open my my alcohol. I'll try and get the other one started. Hey, you can come on screen if you want to. Right? It's a bad time. She's trying to open the Bacardi. I'm trying to open the white chocolate rum. What do you? Liqueur, white chocolate. Okay, so we'll trade. So this is the Bacardi. We just got some Bacardi. I'm gonna add all of this in there. Yay! Thank you. So this is 50 milliliters. If this were a bigger bottle, again, I would just measure with my heart, as I usually do. And then we have our white chocolate liqueur. White chocolate liqueur. White chocolate liqueur. Come on. And I'm just going to get all of you in there. I know you don't want to get all in there. You are having some issues. I gotta plop it out like it's a ketchup bottle. I feel like only the liqueur came out and not the white chocolate. Let me shake it. Let me try and shake it. I'm so tired, by the way. I have barely gotten any sleep this entire week. All of you will find out why as the show is ending. If you haven't been keeping up with my social media already, and you don't know the fun little surprise guest that we're gonna have at the end of the show. She's very sweet and she bites my hands. All right. So there's that. I'm gonna mix you with something. So that way, I don't just have, because right now it's kind of a blob on the bottom. I'm just gonna get a knife out of my drawer. Great. I'm just gonna mix it up right now, and while it's like that, I'm gonna add just a dash of vanilla. Dash. That was not a dash of vanilla. That was a blob of vanilla. By the way, the few times that I opened that on stream, you can see the 80 pounds of fancy sprinkles that I have, just like hanging out and chilling. All right. Great. So while before I put the finishing touch on what this is right now, again, right now it's just creamer, Bacardi rum, white chocolate liqueur, and vanilla. I'm going to add a little finishing touch to that, but I don't want it to wilt. So I'm going to just make some skull pancakes, pancake waffles. They always come out tasting more like pancakes than waffles, but it's a waffle iron, so I don't know. Also, people know my brand so well. 3 separate people this past week have sent me the link to this thing that I already own because it makes skull-shaped waffles. So y'all know me so well. Thank you so much for reminding me that I should use this on the stream more because it's so yummy. All right. Plug it in, plug it in. All right. I always use it wrong, by the way, because I just kind of tell by like the heat on top whether or not it's ready to use. Because it's always just like, yeah, the light will change color. It never changes color. It doesn't do that. So I just, with my hand. Right? By the way, I know we use Fancy Sprinkles Prism Powder a lot. But right now, we're actually going to be using the Ribbons and Pearls Actual Sprinkles. Actual sprinkles. Actual sprinkles. Can y'all tell how exhausted I am right now, by the way? Because I feel like microwave death right now. I'm just so sleepy. This is heat up so I can eat my food. Yeah. So what's everyone's plans for the holidays, by the way? Just send some stuff in the chat. I mean, obviously, holidays are not going to be what they have been every other year of our lives. So what is something that people are planning on doing now with their pandemic? Any bright ideas? Anyone looking for ideas on things to do? Any movie marathons happening that we all need to know about? Please let me know. You're kind of hot. All right. I'm just going to pan the ever-loving shit out of you. I'm going to add my mix. So weird. I actually haven't made waffles in a while because one of the girls in my mind show got me addicted to HelloFresh by sending me a free box. Thanks, Lulu, for addicting me to HelloFresh. She's like, yeah, here's a free box to start off, and then for the rest of your life, you're going to be using HelloFresh. I'm just going to do that for right now. I'm going to get a straw, actually. I don't need a straw with this beautiful little baby here. I'm going to get a red one to be cute. Yeah. I'm going to taste this before even. Oh, hot damn. This is my jam. Takeout and Christmas movies. Yay! Like a specific takeout? Like, are you doing like a specific restaurant or anything? And do a live tweet of Die Hard. Ooh, that's gonna be super fun too. Ricky, is one of the Christmas movies that you're watching Die Hard, so that way you can follow along with Polly's live tweeting of the show? Movie? See, my thing, I'm a gift giver for Christmas, so I'm not really like a Christmas Day. Everything leading up until Christmas, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. And then once everyone's opened their presents, I'm like, and I'm ready to take a nap until the new year. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing as well. And it'll be even better because I don't have any holidays parties to go to, because who's doing holiday parties right now? No one. We're in a pandemic. All right. You seem to be about ready to be thrown onto my plate. Yeah. For those who haven't seen me use this bad boy before, this is just what it looks like when it's done. I'm going to unplug it because it doesn't have an on-off switch. It just unplugs. But yeah, this is what my little skull mold makes. It's so cute. But we're not here for this. We're here for this. Muppet Christmas Carol for the millionth time. Oh my God, yes. I'm so happy they re-added that song back in there. Denny's every year. Yes, I actually remember for Easter this year, IHOP was doing something. And they sent me like an entire feast. And Chris and I got like the feast for 6 people. And we ate it for like several days over. It was insane. All right. The final touch for this is to add so much whipped cream that you can just go to the end of the bottle, basically. The bottle, the canister, I don't know. Again, y'all, I'm tired. And then what I'm going to do is put some fancy sprinkles on it. Brand new thing. All right. So it just looks. Oh, wow. All right. That's going to be fun to clean up later. All right. I'm just going to scoop it out with my hand right now. Just so it's there. Just so it's fun and it's fancy and it's sprinkles and it's fancy sprinkles. All right. So this is what our finished product looks like. She's so pretty. She's so cute. Speaking of pretty and cute, I am pretty and cute, and I'm going to be setting up my foodstuffs over at the kitchen table. While we are doing that, please enjoy a preview of Tim Mooney's Breakneck Hamlet. All of this footage was filmed pre-pandemic, so we're going to be talking about the adaptations and how to make it into a virtual show. Also, just the show in general and life and stuff. Anyway, enjoy.
Vigil. In the distance, they hear trumpets and guns commemorating the king's nightly revelry, which, in Hamlet's depiction, sounds rather like a frat party. Hamlet, famous, of course, as a swift, responsive man of action. Hastily, Ophelia reports a disturbing encounter with Hamlet, who burst in upon her, grasping her by the wrist and staring at her in a kind of a creepy way. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Way out of the room, Hamlet checks in with Horatio, who acknowledges witnessing, as did pretty much everybody else in the hall. Well, Hamlet, thinking that he has caught the king amid an act of treachery, stabbed Polonius in the arras. The ghost returns, reminding Hamlet of his unfulfilled promise and warning him to lay off of his mother. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern catch up to Hamlet, who calls Rosencrantz a sponge. But indeed, if you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up the stairs into the lobby. Gertrude, with her dying breath, cries out, "The drink! The drink! I am poisoned." Laertes, knowing that he too has been poisoned, turns informer. The English ambassadors arrive alongside Fortinbras and his company, disappointed to discover that their proud news that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead now falls on deaf ears.
Yay! Oh my God. So yeah, if you're not excited about that, you are dead to me. But please welcome Tim Mooney of Breakneck Hamlet, everybody. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Jenny, great to see you.
Oh, I don't think I can hear you. Oh,
You can't hear?
great. Awesome. Okay, I think there's actually just a little bit of a delay.
Oh,
A little bit of a delay. We work with it. Awesome. Great. So first of all, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Yay! Yay! So please tell everyone at home a little bit about Breakneck Hamlet.
Breakneck Hamlet is all of Hamlet in just 1 hour, all of the major important speeches that drive the plot, and then snarky narration to guide you through all of the rest. What you saw in that last clip was mostly the snarky narration.
Which is the super fun part. I mean, I've seen Hamlet, so we love to hear the snarky commentary, of course. What were some of your inspirations for making this show?
Well, I had done several. This was one-man show. This is one-man Shakespeare show number 3 for me. I had already done one called Lot O' Shakespeare, in which I do one monologue from every Shakespeare play, determined entirely at random based on the spin of a bingo cage.
Yes.
I then moved on to do one called Shakespeare's Histories, 10 Epic Plays at a Breakneck Pace, because I realized that the history plays make a ton more sense when you see them in chronological order. And so I was able to take all of the very important speeches of the history plays, put those in historical order, and then squeeze in snarky narration to guide you through all 10 plays in just 1 hour. Well, I did that show at an international festival that was being held in Venice, Florida, actually. The Venice Community Theater was hosting the American Association of Community Theaters quadrennial international festival. And so I would usually go just to promote my shows and stand around in the lobby and talk to people about what's available to bring to their theater. And every once in a while, well, actually both times I attended this festival, they had a dropout, usually from Africa, because they couldn't get their passports or they couldn't afford their tickets or whatever. I think it might have been the nation of Togo that wasn't able to attend the festival. And they asked me, do you have something that you can do in the slot that Togo was using? And so I had Shakespeare's Histories ready to go. And so I performed that for 2 or 3 performances there in Venice. And after the show, one of the adjudicators of the festival, they didn't adjudicate my shows because I wasn't a community theater entrant, but one of the usual adjudicators was a guy from Denmark who came up to tell me how much he enjoyed the show. And he came up and just said, what I'd really like to see you do is to focus on just one play and get deep inside of that one. And I asked him, well, that sounds great. Which play did you have in mind? And he said, well, I'm from Denmark. And so I figure when somebody from Denmark says to you he wants to see you play Hamlet, I think you got to jump into that. So I used that as permission and began working on the play. And so I started with the soliloquies because that's Hamlet at his most honest, because nobody else is in the room with him. And so he's not putting on his madcap insanity, and he's not misleading people. He's actually, kind of in his own head. And so I wanted to find out who he was as effectively as I can before kind of adding on other people in the room and the other famous speeches and so on. So that was, to some degree, my process.
Wonderful. Well, that's spectacular. And again, if one person comes up and is like, I'm from Denmark and I need you to do Hamlet, you got to do Hamlet.
Yeah, you got to do Hamlet. So and because I already had 2 of those speeches memorized at that point, because I was doing To Be or Not to Be as part of Lot O Shakespeare. And I've always done I have this exercise that I do for schools when I go, surrounding the monologue, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. And so I had those 2 pretty much memorized. So I was already 5% there.
There you go.
Yeah.
5% is better than 0%.
Yes.
So this show started before everything got locked down and it was hardly unsafe to go outside. How did you go about adapting it to a virtual experience? I mean, it's a one-person show, so that was a little easier in itself. You didn't have to get a whole cast together. But I'm sure you had some hurdles you had to jump through in order to make it all work still as seamlessly and as beautifully as it does on stage. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I think my well, first of all, this is one of essentially 10 one-man shows that I do. And so this wasn't the first one that I adapted to the screen. The first one that I did was one that I do called Man Cave, a one-man sci-fi climate change tragic comedy, which features one man alone, perhaps the last man left on Earth, podcasting to whoever might still be out there on Earth listening. And when he realizes that no one is like emailing him back, he begins to turn his attention towards whatever Klingons or Vulcans might be out there listening in the universe and talks to them. And so that was like a natural adaptation to the pandemic universe, because he's alone, he's sitting at his desk, he's talking, he's got his microphone set up, and he does it. Now, while in live theater, I would occasionally stand up and walk around my desk while projecting into my microphone. In this, I just lost the need to stand up anymore. And so I sat down and remained sitting down. And then I was like, well, now I've done that. Now, how am I going to adapt, Lotto Shakespeare or Breakneck Hamlet or Breakneck Julius Caesar or Shakespeare's Histories to that environment? And it became, this is for me. I know it looks like I'm to the right on your screen probably, but this is stage left for me because everything's inverted. And this is stage right for me. And this is, Laertes dying stage left, and then we have Hamlet dying stage right. And you know, occasionally I will exit this way and let the chair spin me around so that I can enter from this direction. Beyond that, the real challenges have been technical, because I'm alone in a room here for the most part. And every once in a while, I'll have a microphone issue or I'll have a Wi-Fi issue. And I was doing Man Cave for the Orlando Fringe Virtual Festival last May. And for some reason, about 8 minutes before the ending of the performance, there was a glitch that just started repeating like 1.5 seconds worth of speech, and it wouldn't get off of that glitch. And so we had to shut down, rehook up, contact the Orlando Fringe again, and finish the play on a new link. And I was racing to get it done before the next act was supposed to come in. So there are always little challenges like that.
Always. This is a very good segue actually into my next question, because this is something I ask of all of my guests, because it's such a wonderful bonding moment that we normally have like backstage during shows and stuff. But we all have on-stage horror stories, things that have gone terribly wrong, that have caused us to have 12 years taken off of our lives. One of mine that I've talked about before, during a production of Tempest, I was directing it as well as playing Miranda in the show. And during one of the performances, we had our Ariel, she jumped up onto a stage cube for like this big dramatic moment, and she was doing this really great thing, and she was awesome, and I was like into it. And then she fell through the stage cube, and none of us really knew what to do after that. We were like, okay. She like walked it off as like, this was part of it. And I was like, that's great. But I was just sitting there like, well, I can't help it all. And like backstage was kind of like a mess after that, because we had to get like first aid stuff for her. And she's always such a pro. She's like, it needs to match my outfit. And I'm like, okay, that's great. We will make it with your outfit. That's perfect. But it's one of those moments that sticks out in my mind of like time slowed down, because a person that was my friend, who was a like peer in the show as an actor, and also that I was in charge of because I was directing, hurt themselves really bad while I was watching, and I couldn't do anything. That's one of my onstage horror stories. Please tell the viewers at home and myself one of yours.
I think those happen so often that I'm the only one on stage, and I'm in the moment, and I'm driving through, that I don't have a lot of those in my head about my life as a solo performer. But one of the most remarkable ones from back junior year of high school, I was in an Agatha Christie murder mystery, in which, you know, they spend the first half of the play setting up the murder and getting you curious about who it might have been. And they spend the second half of the play piecing it together and eventually figuring out who had to have been the person who did the murder. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Act 2, Scene 1 ends with the murder. Or maybe it's Act 2, or maybe let's just assume it's at the end of Act 1. But yeah. The victim goes out onto the balcony and sees the murderer and says, "What? No, stop that. What are you doing?" And bang, and he stumbles back in and dies. And then everyone comes in to find the dead body and curtain. So there's that that's supposed to happen. Well, all of that happened to a degree, but except for one thing, which was the bang. They could not get the prop gun to go off. And they had not anticipated that one day the prop gun might not fire. So he says, "What are you doing? Don't do that. Why?" Click. Click, click, click. And then the actor on stage had to improvise through a failing attempt at assassination, and had to do it in such a way that he would not identify the person who was off stage. So he's talking to that person, and let's say that person's name is Genny, and he can say anything but the name Genny. And also, he can't quite indicate his attitude towards her in their relationship. Like if she was his wife, he could not say intimate things to her that they would know as a pair. So he improvised. It felt like 20 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds. Maybe it might have been a minute. But he was brilliant, and he says, "Don't do that. How often have I told you not to play with those? Stop that. Why are you?" And so eventually, I don't know if somebody shouted "bang" or if somebody took a piece of wood and pounded it on the floor, but eventually we get the equivalent of what should have been a gunshot. He stumbles back in from the balcony, collapses on the floor. We all rush in to discover him there. And if you can imagine, if my hands are his dead body, imagine just the kind of quivering of someone laughing while supposedly dead. And imagine everyone standing around him, holding back that same laughter, wanting to not a bit able to let go. And eventually, curtain closes and we all collapse with laughter.
Oh my God. That's a good kind of one though, because like you all got to like enjoy it immediately afterwards. It was fun for you, which was great, and I love those kind of accidents because like at least
we enjoyed it for a minute, and then the director came backstage and screamed at us.
No.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't your fault though. The gun didn't go off.
It wasn't our fault, but some of us may have come darn close to breaking character.
Oh, boo. Yeah. Boo. You've talked quite a few times about how you have multiple one-man shows. Please give the audience a little bit of info about all of those other shows as well, because we're not just here to talk about your show that's happening tonight that everyone should go see, by the way. You have so many wonderful things that you're doing. Please tell everyone what they are.
Thank you. And I noticed a little note there from Ricky about he still has a copy of my Tartuffe. This all started when I got into the practice of rewriting Moliere into new rhymed iambic pentameter scripts. And so I started with Tartuffe back in like 1997. And I went on a binge of rewriting Moliere in which I did about a dozen plays over the course of 4 years. And I produced many of them myself. I realized production is a real burden when you are also the author. And so I eventually found somebody else to start directing them and auditioned myself. And 4 cases in a row, I found myself cast in the role that Moliere himself originally played. So I played the misanthrope in The Misanthrope, the doctor in The Doctor in Spite of Himself, Scanorel in Scanorel or The Imaginary Cuckold, and Scapan in Scapan. And so so all of these were the roles that Moliere himself originally played. He wrote the most challenging roles for himself, and I ended up playing the most challenging roles that I had written. So I was already living this parallel existence with Moliere. And then I was asked to give a presentation for the Canadian Women's Guild. I'm in the Chicago area. Apparently there's these 20 or 30 Canadian women who get together for luncheon once a month. And so they invited me to come and give a presentation. I'd done a few luncheons over the years, and mostly I would go and talk about Moliere and the show we've got coming up, that kind of thing. Well, they didn't want an infomercial about Moliere. They wanted a performance. And so I had to come up with a way that Moliere might find himself performing alone on stage. And so I came up with a concept whereby Moliere's cast had all come down with food poisoning. Moliere couldn't afford to refund the audience their money, and so he agrees to perform some of his favorite monologues. And so I had a good handful of these already memorized up there, more or less, from the 4 versions of his roles that I had played before. And so I added another 15, 20 minutes worth of material, and that became my presentation for the Canadian Women's Guild. But very quickly, I began to envision this not only as performing for the Canadian Women's Guild, but a one-man show that I could do live in person for a regular full audience. And so I continued memorizing a total of about what was then 85 minutes for a production that we call Moliere Than Thou. So
we love puns on the show. So this is
thank
amazing.
you. Well, that was my first experience doing a one-person show, and I had a day job at the time, which I eventually quit, and I took Moliere Than Thou on the road back in. I did it sporadically around the year 2001, but I think it was fall of 2002 that I got on the road and stayed on the road. I would put some 45,000 miles on my car every year and show up to do this show at high schools, colleges, festivals, conferences. And it was actually the summer of 2002 when I started doing fringes. And Orlando Fringe was one of the first that I had done, as well as the Seattle Fringe. I did most of Canada. And so I have just being on the road, all by myself, driving, I keep coming up with new ideas for one-man plays. And in one instance, two of them have been science fiction. One of them is a short story that I wrote that I was unable to get published, but a friend suggested, why don't you perform it? So I perform Criteria, a one-man comic sci-fi thriller, and took that through the fringes. And I did another one called Karaoke Nights, a one-man rock opera about life in the karaoke bar. And at one point, performing in Virginia, an audience member seeing Moliere Than Thou comes up and says, you really ought to submit your resume to the local Shakespeare festival, because I understand they're still looking for their Macbeth. And I'd always imagined myself as this skinny, nebbishy, undergrad theater major type, and never imagined myself as Macbeth. And so again, when somebody sees something in you, you begin to realize that there's potential out there. And so whereas they eventually found a different Macbeth for their production, I started thinking about auditioning at Shakespeare festivals. And I started trying to choose what monologue I could possibly audition with. And every play that I thought about, I could think of a good monologue that I would want to do from that show. And ultimately decided just to memorize one monologue from all known 38 Shakespeare plays. And worked on that for 4 years, actually. And it began, and I may have auditioned at 1 or 2 Shakespeare festivals, but quickly my idea turned into a new one-man play in which I would do one monologue from every Shakespeare play, determined entirely at random based on the spin of a bingo cage. The audience would all play along, each holding their own individual Iago card. And the first one to match up 4 in a row would win, say, a T-shirt or a book. And so that it turned into a really tricky way to get students to pay attention to a series of random monologues from beginning to end, because they were constantly watching that card and hoping to win a prize. And in the process, it ended up demonstrating the vast kind of breadth of the work of Shakespeare, and to make it accessible, and to teach students that it's within their reach, that they can easily understand the motivations, the setting, the structure, the plot, while actually enjoying themselves. So my best my best favorite response that I get from audience is, I never liked Shakespeare before, but now I think I love Shakespeare.
Oh, yay! We love that audience response. Oh, that's always so great. I love that. So, of course, now that you are in a Zoom playing field, obviously we've talked about the hurdles and stuff, but is there something that's actually maybe working better even than it did before? Something that's easier for you?
Yes. I think just now I'm a little distracted here because I'm looking at you on my screen and not in the camera. But the real challenge, sometimes what I do is I take these little Post-it note circles, and I draw an arrow on them. I have an arrow pointing to the camera to remind me that's where the camera is. But the impact of being able that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. To be able, everyone is in the front row here. Everyone, and I'm a kind of a face and a hands actor to begin with, so I'm really working the space in that narrow frame, and it feels more textured, more detailed, more nuanced. Whereas in the clip that you just ran, the students who are attending are laughing at the big, bold flips that I'm doing and rolling over and the fencing and all of that is because they're forced to watch it from a very wide lens, and so they laughed at the bold, broad stuff. Now I can get right there and present. I can even drop my voice and have an intimate moment with them as I deliver a soliloquy if I need to, and then I can take that and get bigger and bigger with it, as many of those soliloquies do.
That's great. I love that. What a wonderful answer. Thank you so much for that. So going back to your show tonight, that's at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, yes?
Yes. That is correct.
Yay, great. So is there anything else that you want the audience watching at home right now to know about your show?
Tonight's show?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's on Facebook Live, and it's at my company Facebook site, which is Tim Mooney Rep, facebook.com/Tim Mooney Rep.
Great.
And it's almost exactly an hour. We allow a little time for, and this is something that I'm not able to do so well. I mean, as a high school kid, it was drilled into me, don't be seen before the show. Don't be seen in costume after the show. There were all these rules about how you're supposed to preserve the purity of that experience. And mostly I do, but since I'm hosting the thing, I'm the stage manager, I'm the house manager, I'm doing the pre-show announcement, and so I just naturally segue from that into a talk back in which I can talk with folks about questions that they might have or the show that I've got coming up next. And so it just feels much more, once I'm outside that box of doing the show, I can revert back. I drink a beer along with my audience, and it's like we've retired to the bar afterwards.
Yay! Great. So people can definitely talk to you after the show. They don't have to just email you afterwards. They can talk with you afterwards.
They can talk with me. There is a weird delay on Facebook where I say something and they don't hear it until I think 22 seconds later.
22 seconds. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. And so they may then on Facebook, it's a chat feed, so they can type into the chat feed, and I can interact with the chat feed as we talk. And they can also chat through the course of the play. I'm doing my best not to look at the chat, because if I start reading, then I'm not going to remember what the next line is. but after the show, I always go back and check the feed. And yes, it is a long delay, Polly. And so sometimes I ask for any questions. I have to remember that they're not hearing me ask that until 22 seconds later. And then they start thinking about questions that they have, and then they get around to typing something back. So I may not, my question and their answer may be separated by a minute or so. So sometimes I just have to hang around and watch the feed and see what's, and then answer. So, and then sometimes I'll have 3 or 4 responses coming in at once, and I'll be trying to get to this thing, and then interestingly, with my show Lotto Shakespeare, normally I do it randomly based on the spin of a bingo cage, and we go, and the audience plays along with the Iago card. I can't get an Iago card into everyone's hands, and so what I do instead is I spin the cage 5 times at the outset. 5 ping pong balls roll into the outward tray. I don't look at what came out. I then take requests through the course of the show, and they'll type in requests in the chat feed. Or if we're on Zoom, I perform on Zoom on Monday nights. They can ask me directly. But mostly we do this through the chat feed, and I note who has requested what plays, and then I perform the monologue, and then I take another request and I perform a monologue, and we go back and forth by that. Oh, thanks, Ricky. So at the end of the play, I check what the ping pong balls were that came out, and I announce which the winning monologues are. And if anybody requested those particular monologues, for instance, I just happen to have right here 3 of my books. You could win a book such as the Breakneck Julius Caesar Companion, or the Breakneck Hamlet Companion. And I also have an acting textbook that I created called Acting at the Speed of Life, Conquering Theatrical Style. Those are 3 of like 9 books that I've made out of the various plays and performances and scripts that I've written. And so someone will win one of those, we'll catch their address and mail them a copy of the book that they won, or the t-shirt, or hang on, one more thing. The Breakneck Hamlet mask is also highly popular.
Yes! Oh, fantastic! Yes, I love that. Oh my God, everyone, please go watch. I know that Tim is here, so you can watch this tonight, but everyone, please go watch Win a Mask. Yay! Before I let you go, I do have to ask, if anyone is struggling right now to create work right now during these insane times that we're in, what advice do you have for them?
Just have faith in that little voice in the back of your head that's telling you this thing is something to chase down. And have faith that it may look ugly right now at the outset. I started out when I was doing this process. I took these 2 little scoop lamps, maybe $15 at Target, and I covered them with plastic cocktail plates that were of colored plastic, and so that I would have I had a blue light on one side of my face and a red light on the other. It was extremely crude. I just threw myself into it. I announced that I'd be doing it on Facebook, and people tuned in. Some hit that little donate button and threw some money my way, which was awesome. And others just enjoyed the show and hit like, and so it won't look perfect the first time, and there are screw ups along the way. Everybody knows that you're performing out of your house, or that you're performing from remote, and we're all finding it out as we go, and so waiting for the moment to be perfect, you'll be waiting a very, very long time, and won't give yourself the opportunity to gear up and get better.
Amazing. I love that. Hear that, everyone at home? This person knows what they're talking about. Throw yourself in. Well, thank you so much, Tim. This has been really great. This has woken me up. I was exhausted before, and now this has been a really great interview. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely my pleasure. I hope some of you guys will come join me tonight at 8 p.m. Central.
Yay! Wonderful. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
Yay! Everyone, please give it up again for Tim Mooney of Breakneck Hamlet and every other show that Tim does. Tim performs Sundays and Mondays. Sundays on Facebook Live, Mondays on Zoom. A sprinkle just shot across the screen. I'm not sure if anybody saw that. But yeah. You can find all of Tim's stuff at the link that we were scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Plus, we posted it in the chat function for y'all. I believe it's timmooneyRep.com, but if it's not, someone please yell at me. Next week, we have another returning guest, Gorilla Reps. Gorilla Reps Macbeth is what I was going to say, because that's what they were last time. But Gorilla Reps Hamlet is going to come back on the show. And, of course, after this, I have a cooking show. My holiday cooking show is happening. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern, which means that you still have time to watch the 9 p.m. Eastern Tim Mooney show. You can watch both. It's going to be for anyone who's doing Christmas at home this year and they don't know what to make for any of their families. I'm going to have a bunch of guests on with me, and it's going to be a great time. Also, for anyone who hasn't been following my social media recently and want to know why I'm so exhausted, well, I normally wake up at 9 for my shows, as we know, my 1 p.m. shows, but I've been waking up at 7 recently because that's when this one poops. She poops at 7. Everyone, please. Oh, please meet Poppy the puppy. She's just woken up from her afternoon nap, and she's very tired and doesn't want to be here, but she's so cute. Everyone had to say hi to Poppy. She loves strings, so both my hair and this hoodie are entrancing to her. She is going to fall asleep on me. Oh, can we make that the different way? So that way I'm big and it's because I'm Bane. All right, I'm gonna go this way. Hello. Oh, is it gone? It's gone! The credits are gone! All right, well, I'm going to take that as a sign to just tell you the credits. If you want to be featured at all, if you have a show going on, please DM me or send an email to sourgrapesproductions@nyc@gmail.com. If you want pictures of Poppy, please follow Poppy Yasko at Instagram. Yay, we have the credits. The credits are gone again? All right, never mind. Don't worry about it. We're just going to talk through are they back? Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in and watching us. Thank you, Fridge in New York, for being a wonderful little sponsor of this. Thank you, Poppy, for not having a total freak out because I just woke you up. Tim Mooney of Breakneck Hamlet, thank you so much for coming on the show. You were wonderful to talk to. I so am looking forward to watching your show. Yay. Oh, you're sneezing a lot, and that scares me. Yes. Oh, my God. Please donate to Frigid New York if you can. Also, the link tree that you're seeing at the bottom of the screen is the link tree to all of my information, so you can look up future shows and all of that fun stuff. The recipe can be gotten through email, and I'm going to take Poppy back to her nap time place. Bye.